Welcome to the Power of Lifting podcast. I'm EricCafferty, owner of the Mecca Gym. I am a strength and conditioning coach and a contest prep specialist. The focus of this podcast is to dive into the mindset and the drive of people who have done incredible things with their lives. Welcome everybody to the Power of Lifting podcast. Hunter, what episode are we on?
We're on number 22, sir.
Double deuces.
Double deuces.
All right, sweet.
We're cruising along.
We're cruising. We got a special episode today, partially because I was out of town to USA's, which was, we were just talking about a massive show, like 700 or 800 competitors.
Oh my gosh.
A 2-day event. So Kalia had to do 2 days worth of tanning, 2 days worth of makeup, 2 days worth of peaking, which is not really that big of a deal, but it's still a little bit more challenging. Down there in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. It wasn't that hot though.
Oh, I was going to ask you, was it bacon?
No, it was like 100, so we were good. But for those curious, we did have some great post-show festivities. She ended up taking 11th out of 28 in her class, which is not too shabby. Not as good as we were hoping for, of course, but you know, we learned a lot, and we got a couple years of off season for that one now, so which I'm sure she's stoked about. We've been prepping since November. It's been a while. It's been like almost 10 months.
That's almost 10 months of with 3 shows. Then that would be
with 3 shows. So our first one was in April, and the last one being end of July. So it was quite the span. She's been contest ready since April.
Oh my goodness.
So that's April, May, June, July. She was contest ready for 4 months. So most people have a hard time getting contest ready for 1 day, let alone 4 months. So kudos to her. She's a doll.
Shout out Kalia.
We love her to pieces, and she did fantastic. But lots of competition out there.
Happy you're back.
Yes, back in action. So without further ado, this episode, Hunter, what is this episode all about?
Well, this episode is all about the one of the reasons that you started this podcast was to get rid of all the myths and to spread the good knowledge.
Spread
the good knowledge.
And
so I thought it would be a phenomenal idea if we went to the interwebs, the most disgusting Wild West that is right now, and search up some stuff about the fitness industry and how it is right now, what it looks like, what are the most searched questions maybe, what are like the top people kind of saying, and kind of bust those myths or kind of go over that.
Yeah, we talked about some of those with good old Coach Pauly on here.
Yes.
Which is a good episode. For those of you that haven't listened to it, listen to Coach Pauly's episode. Speaking of which, since that's our item up for discussion, part of the reason why you were on this podcast is because you actually did an interview with me, and I said, Hunter, when I start a podcast,
right,
you gotta be my guy. You gotta be my co-host.
I appreciate
so I want to take a little bit of time here, since we're on episode 22, for crying out loud, to let people get to know an introduction of the one and only Hunter Dennis.
That sounds great to me. Just to let people know who's the weird dude sitting on the side of the table.
Who's the weird dude on the other side of the table that was ballsy enough to eat a flaming hot chip.
We did it together.
It was great. So if people don't know you, what are you famous for?
What am I famous for if people don't know me? I'm like the tall white guy that's nice to people. I don't know. I'm just kind of there. I'm not really famous for anything particular. I mean, I played a lot of sports growing up, and I don't know, in the Valley I know some people. But
know some people that know some people.
That's
so
right.
You grew up playing basketball, right?
Yeah, that was my
thing. Tell me a little bit about the basketball.
Yeah, basketball
career.
was my life. It was one of those deals like hockey was much like yours. Basketball was mine, and the idea was going to play college ball and maybe get paid some money to do it too. That didn't necessarily pan out, but the fact that basketball was my life growing up was, I mean, it introduced me to like traveling. When we traveled like to Vegas and Seattle, that was the stuff where I was away from my family, learned the most about kind of fending for myself, but also just getting to play that game.
Yeah, so what teams did you play on growing up?
So I went to Centennial High School here in Boise, and then that was the club ball that I played for was Hoop Dreams, when I first started playing club, and then I transferred over to a team called Idaho Select, which I absolutely loved. Nice. The Horniman brothers run that one. They're really good people, former Boise State basketball players, good guys. And they've expanded it now. They're hundreds of kids, girls and boys, just blowing up. So I'm happy for that, guys.
Nice. So what are your crowning achievements?
Crowning achievements, I would say the biggest one would be marrying my wife and having my 2 little girls. Oh. That's huge. It's almost like its own achievement.
Right.
And then everything else just kind of builds up from there.
Exactly. So tell everybody, how old are your little girls now?
So they're just over 2.
Twins.
Acting like they're 16. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah, twin girls.
Incredible.
Brittany did an amazing job, and she birthed some incredible girls.
Yes, and she's a fantastic woman herself.
Yeah, she is. She trains with Eric, and she loves it, and it's a good family endeavor.
Yes, I get to crack the whip. So, your profession, I mean, people should already know this. You work at the one and only Mecca Gym. Mm-hmm. So Hunter is we'll call him our content creator, marketing director, podcast producer. You wear a few hats.
I wear a few hats, and I'm happy to be here and trusted to do so. And it's been an absolute blast. But yeah, it was a fun deal when, just like Eric mentioned, getting that. I asked him if I could, because I was writing a paper for school at the time. I was like, "Can I just ask you questions about the gym and fitness and all that kind of stuff?" He said, "Yeah, buddy." So he did it. And he's like, "You do a good job." I said, "I appreciate it." And then I reached out back to him a little bit later, said, "Yeah, let's get this started." And that was one of the things that he's like, during COVID, when Eric said, "I'm ready to grow." When a lot of people wanted to shrink because of COVID, Eric's like, "I want to grow." And that was one of the big reasons I wanted to get hired on here. And I already knew him so well. But yeah, that's what I do, and I'm really enjoying it.
So how would you say exercise has enhanced your life?
I would say exercise is probably the number one enhancer of my life.
There you go.
I mean, when it comes to sports when I was younger and getting in the weight room and falling in love with it then, but being able to come to the Mecca and working with you, training with you, and just moving weights, and the mental side of it is just as big as the physical side for me.
Right.
It's a place where you come and work out your demons and
that's right.
Do those things that make you healthy so you can last longer.
Put those demons on the treadmill.
That's right.
Or on the deadlift bar,
right
rather.
On the deadlift bar and pick them up and put them back down.
Exactly. So how many powerlifting meets have you done now? Did you just do one?
I just did the one, yeah.
Okay.
The other, there was another one that I would have done as well, but then since I was hired on here, I got to do the media stuff.
Oh.
So,
yeah.
I mean, it was well.
Who else is going to take pictures?
That's right. Got to do it.
So what are the top 3 things you're most passionate about today?
Passionate about... That's a really good question. We asked these questions to our guests, and we kind of put them on the spot a little bit. But they answer it. But that's actually one you got to really think about. I think I'm really passionate, one, in finding opportunities to kind of be a benefit to myself and other people. So, for example, like taking a job here or doing something that somebody is lacking with, I can come and help them to kind of supplement their life to make it better, if that makes sense. Yeah. So you could like go the cliche way of like serving people, because that's always fulfilling.
Absolutely.
Another thing would be fitness. There's aspects of it that I really struggle with, but there's aspects of it that I really, really love, and I'm trying to make my weaknesses stronger and continue to build on my strengths.
Just like the rest of us, right?
Just like the rest of us. And then the third would just be being a good person. Being a good man, being a good dad, good
person,
father.
Good dad, good father. We like that. So, what are your? I'm going to cut ahead here a little bit because I want to know what's your top 3 books.
Oh,
we've had some good mentions on this podcast.
We have, and I've been writing them down and taking I'm just going
all the notes.
Yeah, absolutely. One would be, I'm obsessed with the Walt Disney Corporation. I just am. The way that they run things, the way that they came from. For some reason, I love it.
You and your wife both.
Me and my wife, that's right. Anyway, there's a book written by the former CEO, Bob Iger. It's called Ride of a Lifetime. And it talks about the things he learned through his business career.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
It's really phenomenal. So like the lessons he learned, but all the stuff he was able to do, just learned a lot from that. Number 2 would probably be a book called, I don't know if somebody may have said this already. What was it called? Shoot, I'm going to have to look it up real quick. It's the one about that World War II guy who got shot down and became a prisoner of war. Unbreakable.
Oh.
Or something like that. No, not Unbreakable. Anyway, I'll have to remember the title of the book.
Put it in the comments section.
Put it in the comment section. I'll find it for you guys. And then another one. would be
Awkward silence.
awkward silence, thinking, tick-tock, tick-tock. Oh, The Art of Fear. Have you heard of that one?
Oh, no.
No,
Who
it's
writes
pretty
that?
good. I can't remember her name, but she's a gal. She was like an Olympic/professional skier, and she kind of dove a little bit into the aspect of fear. And like, you don't want to get rid of fear because there's a reason for it, but how can you use fear to enhance your life?
Yeah,
So that was pretty sweet.
That's stupendous.
Yeah.
No, I like that. Okay, movies. Give me them. Give me them.
Movies.
What are your top 2 movies?
My
This
top
is how
2
people really get to know you.
Right.
What movies do you like?
The first one actually is Sahara.
Oh, really?
Yeah, with Matthew McConaughey.
Okay.
I really like that one because for some reason it's like the perfect action/romance thriller where it's not too intense, but it's intense enough to keep you engaged. But it's also the story structure of it's perfect to me. That's like my perfect film would be Sahara, and I just love Matthew McConaughey. Who doesn't?
I mean,
Who does not? And then I would have to go. This is super silly, but a comedy. Have you ever seen The Pink Panther?
Who hasn't seen the Pink Panther?
It's a silly show. It was one of those ones that's just been it's held up my entire life.
I'm gonna have to get you a Pink Panther costume for Halloween.
Yeah, let's do it with
After
Steve
that.
Martin, Pink Panther.
Oh yeah. Okay, there we go. So give us your gym playlist.
Oh, I'm an EDM guy.
Oh,
I'm very much an EDM guy. But the thing is like I don't really remember or click with any particular artist. Like I'll turn on like an EDM playlist and then whatever clicks I'll kind of save into a workout. But other than that, it's not really. There's like just any myriad of that kind of stuff. You got it. It's on my playlist for sure.
okay. What's your most recently listened to? Let's look it up.
Let's look it up. Most recent. Oh, so there's a what's it called? Like an album. The series of albums releases called Monster Cat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so there's just like their top best and stuff like that is what I've been listening to lately.
Oh, there we go.
A song called Reasons that hits pretty good.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
Does it smack?
It slaps.
Slaps. Oh man, I'm such an old man. I
You are
screwed
such
it
a
up.
man. I
It
love
slaps. That'll slap you.
Well, I love the first time
That'll
you
get you
listened to it, too. You
slapped.
said that'll get you slapped.
That'll get you slapped.
That was fun.
Oh my gosh. So what's your preferred training style? Are we more leaning on the hypertrophy side of things or on the strength side of things? Obviously it's lifting weights.
It's lifting weights. I've fallen more and more in love with the hypertrophy side of things. It's been a lot more fun to kind of test there. It's been like powerlifting and building that strength was great, but there's a whole nother level for me personally, and like the intensity you bring. It's just a little bit different.
Totally different.
And it kind of fits a little bit more with my workout playlist, the energy I want to bring to the gym.
It slaps.
That slaps.
That's where I'm headed. Okay. Well, so that means we're turning Hunter into a bodybuilder. Coming to a stage near you, 2022.
Called out on
Let's
the podcast.
Go. Let's go, Hunter. Yeah. Okay. So the best question in the world: who would play your character in a biography?
I surprisingly haven't thought about this at all. So I don't know.
Hunter, come on now.
I know. I feel like
if Vince Vaughn was a ginger.
Vince Vaughn was a ginger.
Yes.
That's
it.
What? I'll take it.
That's it, dude. If Vince Vaughn was a ginger, that would be you.
That's hilarious. We're just going to go crash some weddings.
Dude, wedding crashers. I don't know if I could be Owen Wilson, though.
No.
I don't.
That's a special guy.
I don't know. Well, yeah. Anyway. We're just gonna go with it.
We'll go with that because I've never thought about it. I think that's phenomenal.
So let's hit top 2 role models for you.
Okay. One, I'm gonna go with my dad because he's
solid.
He's the guy that he was described as someone who's complete without guile. Like he just has no hard feelings unless he keeps it suppressed. But he goes out and it is remarkable the way that he can find opportunities to help other people, just like I kind of talked about there at the beginning with that passion question. And he's always there, and that's one of the things that I think a lot of people underrate when it comes to like finding people in their lives, people who can just be there, and he's always there. It doesn't matter what it is. So I really respect and love him. Second, I'm going to get mushy, but it's you. I'm going to have to say that's number 2.
Hunter.
I know.
Hunter.
Other than my wife, but that's kind of a cop-out. So I'm just going to say she's incredible. And then she's over there. But you as professionally speaking.
Well, thank you, Hunter.
Bringing health into my life, making my life better.
Well, I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Well, let's get on to it, shall we?
Let's absolutely do it.
What are we talking about today?
We're just gonna do some live searches here for you folks, and find some questions of like what's the most Googled questions. See what people say, and maybe find some hidden gems in this little world of ours.
Okay, let's do it.
In the Wild West here.
Let's ask away.
All right, Eric. This one. We're just gonna start with something bland here, if you don't mind.
Okay, let's go.
This one's the most popular search was how to lose weight fast.
That's
it.
Oh my god!
Extreme.
How to lose weight fast. I mean. How fast are we talking, Hunter?
That's what I'm saying. Specify. It was searched 486,000 times.
My gosh!
In a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So my answer to this question, you may or may not like. If you want to lose weight fast, just stop eating. I mean, that's anything more like. I think that it's completely ridiculous that is a top asked question on the interwebs, to be honest, because, anything worth doing is worth doing right. Mm-hmm. And people that want to lose weight fast just flat out don't have their head screwed on right.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter if it's for a contest this is obviously very general health related stuff, but people shouldn't necessarily be asking how to lose weight fast. They should be asking, how do we get healthy? How do I, increase my health? Not how do I lose weight? I mean, the scale obviously is going to see positive changes and or go down if you make healthy lifestyle choices. So, now on the flip side to that, if you were to say, hey, I really do have quite a bit of weight to lose, how do I get started? And how do I make progress somewhat quickly towards my goal? Number one, you've got to look at what you have been doing, right? Look at your habits, right? So, we talk a lot about that on this podcast, and I feel like we've alluded to this exact answer a lot on this podcast, but you've got to look at your habits. What are you doing in the morning? What are you putting in your mouth?
Right.
Are you making enough time in your day to exercise? Where are your priorities, right? Once you get that all sorted out, then if you want to get down to the nitty gritty of it, you need to figure out roughly what calorie amount you're expending in a day, right, and then correlate that to what you're consuming in a day, and to create that caloric deficit. So easy ways to do that. Well, number one, you've got to move.
Right.
Number two, you've got to track your nutrition, at least to some extent, right? I would say at bare minimum, people should be tracking protein amount and overall calories. That's like the bare minimum.
Okay.
If you're doing that, you can get by. But I would definitely encourage people to start resistance training. If you're not resistance training, and you want to lose weight relatively quickly, start resistance training.
Wow.
Building muscle is going to be obviously a huge key to health, having a stronger metabolism. The health benefits of resistance training, lifting weights, we've talked about it before in this podcast. You can't even count them. There's so many, right?
So it's not just deciding I want to lose weight, get up in the morning and start training for marathons.
Right. It's not, do not just do cardio if you want to lose weight quickly, because eventually, you're metabolically, you're going to adapt, and you're going to end up like one of these people that's, on the 500 calorie and, doing all the steady state cardio for days type of a person, because
I can't even imagine.
Your body's just going to basically down regulate to the point to where you're running on fumes. It's not going to be good, right? So, first things first, if you're thinking I need to lose weight, I need to make a change, start tracking nutrition. I would actually start increasing your calories up to a point to where you're eating as much as you possibly can without gaining weight.
Right.
And then adding in a healthy amount of exercise, steadily increasing the amount of cardio you're able to do, and also making time to resistance train, at least, I'd say bare minimum 45 minutes, 3 to 4 days a week. I mean, that's not really even sufficient, but that's a bare minimum, right?
I mean, it's something comparatively, I guess, to some people would be a good start.
Now if you're talking, you got an emergency cut for something, I mean, man, don't do this, but basically reduce your calories to almost nothing and do a ton of exercise. That's the way you tip the scales, right?
Right.
Now, if you're talking about water manipulation and things like that, totally separate ball game, right? Sure. So if you're talking about weight cuts for a powerlifting meet, so if somebody out there is a power lifter and they're like, man, I got to drop like 10 to make this weight class, there are things you can do with water manipulation and electrolyte manipulation and food manipulation in order to lose that 10 pounds essentially overnight.
Fascinating. Really fascinating. Man.
Yeah, I mean, and
is that very personal to athletes too?
It can be. Generally speaking, you're essentially sodium loading, and then sodium depleting, and water loading, and then water depleting, and it's all about hydration. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Okay.
And then if that doesn't do it, then you just start sweating, hot baths, saunas, all that stuff. I mean, the typical like wrestling weight cut if you're not able to squeeze enough out through just water and electrolyte manipulation. And food's going to be a component of that as well. But I do not recommend. I typically do not have any powerlifters cut more than about 5 pounds of quote unquote water weight. You can certainly replenish 5 pounds pretty easy, even with a 2-hour weigh-in. But doing more than that, and you're going to start seeing performance detriments. I mean, we're talking cramps, lack of energy. It's just going to affect your 1 rep max.
Wow. Right on.
So,
well, there you go, folks. The secret to weight loss was in what Eric just said, and it's not really a secret at all.
No, it's and that's the problem about a lot of us. Dinguses that focus on evidence-based stuff and things that are actually, somewhat validated by science, right? It's not sexy, right? People want to, hear me sit here and say, oh, well, you need to take this supplement or, you need to do this particular fat-burning workout.
That's going to take the very short amount of time.
If you do this fat-burning workout in 4 weeks, then you're going to, have an ass like J-Lo and magically sprout boob implants. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just
not gonna work.
It's insane.
Right.
Yeah, the instant gratification these days is out of this world.
So I think it's so interesting, the key word there where they put the number one search question is how do I lose? It's not just how do I lose weight, it's how do I lose weight fast.
It's got a deadline.
We got to do it by the end of the week or I'm going to quit.
Right.
And it's pretty intense.
If you want to lose weight quickly, start eating a lot more and start lifting a lot more. And that way, in the future, you will be able to lose body fat quickly. I will tell you, that is the secret to success, is getting a healthy metabolism and gaining a lot of muscle. You want to lose weight fast in the future? That's what you should be doing now.
Do that right now. There you go. There it is. Okay, there's another one. This one wasn't searched nearly as much times, but we're at about 80,000 searches for this one. How do you gain weight? And I'm assuming that the idea would be gain weight in a positive way, but there you go.
I'm assuming it's not like an episode of Super Size Me.
I would hope not.
Which, if anybody's hasn't ever seen that, you should watch it. It's insane.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Homeboy eats McDonald's for like a month straight, McDonald's.
Just McDonald's, and he has to supersize it.
And he has to supersize if they ask. Barf, first of all.
And he did.
And y'all know about my opinion about watching people drive around the friggin' McDonald's
where the lines are circling
all
around
day.
The
store. It freaking kills me, America. God.
Anyway, so gain weight.
How do you gain weight? So I'm gonna frame this in relation to the population that most commonly asks this question. Because I feel like this is a legitimate question. It mostly pertains to high school boys and or young men of sorts.
True.
Because they want to get big, they want to get strong, and
it's a good thing you want.
Yeah, the 98-pound weakling, right? I mean, they want to turn into the big guy.
Right.
I think a lot of people have been there. So I'm gonna circle back around to what I said with the weight loss. First of all, resistance training. Gotta do it. You know what I mean? Resistance training.
Can you gain muscle and strength without resistance training? I mean, is there even?
If you were stimulating in some other way, say if you're
but you
playing,
still have to have that.
Yeah, if you're using the skeletal muscle, but remember your body adapts to stimulus. So, you could do it like, if you were biking, for example, you'd gain muscle in your lower body for sure. But not upper. So I'm assuming this question is going to pertain to like an overall building muscle and getting just bigger.
Yep.
It's going to be very similar to what I said for weight loss, and that's funny, but this is a common theme here. Mm-hmm. Eat more and train hard. Train smart, activate the muscles correctly.
Yeah.
Be consistent. Don't miss meals. Intermittent fasting, probably not going to be for you if you're trying to gain weight, unless it helps stimulate your hunger. Sometimes that really does help, especially, and if somebody is really bulking and trying to gain, doing some fasting occasionally, not very frequently, but occasionally, can actually reawaken some of that hunger response. And, because a lot of times you kind of get bogged down from eating so much food. But in general, to gain weight, you've got to start tracking your calories and you've got to consume enough calories. If people tell me they can't gain weight, which happens all the time, oh, I can't gain weight. And it's like, well, you're not consistent with your eating and you're not eating enough calories. It is a matter of energy balance, people.
Right.
If you are consuming more calories than you're burning, you will gain weight. Now, there's very complex things that happen like within the mitochondria and, in your body that can waste calories, hence metabolic upregulation, proton leaks, things like that, right? Very complicated science stuff that I would have to majorly brush up on if I were to go into a heated debate about that. But does happen, right? So what's the solution? You continue to eat more. But the key is you have to track. You can't just arbitrarily eat as much as you can.
Right.
You want to eat dense foods, still nutritious foods. You don't just want to start pounding ice cream. You need to eat foods that your body digests well.
Okay.
You don't want to overconsume fiber. You don't need to consume 500 grams of protein a day. A lot of people just start pounding the protein shakes and all that stuff. No, eat whole foods, eat the correct amount of protein, and then eat more carbs and fats. Nice. Carbs are more anabolic than protein. Straight up.
There you go.
You need those carbohydrates. Now, you also, I guess you don't need carbs. You need calories. You either need the fats or carbs, but carbohydrates are what are going to, increase that muscle glycogen levels. They're going to, tons of anabolic things that carbohydrates do, right? Yep. They give you the energy to be able to lift hard, things like that. Same thing with fats. If you want to focus more on fats, you can do that, but carbohydrates are going to be the most readily available, so to speak.
Okay. So don't just cut out carbs.
No,
people.
Don't just cut out carbs. No. Carbs have a place. Now, individual bases can differ, but get adequate protein amounts in and then eat consistently and enough calories. So I always tell all the young lads this when they're like, oh, I can't eat enough, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I can't gain weight. Well, I once was in that situation. So let's wind back the clocks back to when I was a young lad in high school. My calorie burn, young Eric, my calorie burn was through the roof. So in high school, right, get up, make my way to school, right? I was busy. I went to the gym right after school, and then oftentimes I had hockey practice at night after that, right?
Constantly doing something.
Constantly either at school or working out on the move, all that stuff, right? Well, I didn't have any help, but reading a lot on bodybuilding.com and just, basically self-teaching myself, I needed calories, right? I got into this stuff because I watched Pumping Iron. Come on. I wanted to get huge.
That is a huge motivator.
You know what I mean? And Arnold and all the guys, they're all sitting around eating piles of beef, right? So I'm like, okay. So, what I did, and this is not necessarily right or wrong, but it was actually, fairly well thought out. for somebody who didn't know anything at the time. I would get up, pound a protein shake that was about 800 calories. I would go to school. At break time, I'd eat a Costco muffin and a piece of fruit. At lunch, I was pretty lucky. My mom made my lunch even when I was in high school.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
God bless her.
Bless her, that's right.
Or I would go get like a Subway sandwich, something like that. But I'd eat roughly 2 sandwiches, 2 bags of chips. I'd do like pickle. She'd throw occasionally like a mini candy bar in there, but lots of fruit, sandwiches, things like that.
Right. Yeah,
then after school, pre-workout, I would go and get a sandwich if I hadn't already got one, and pound a foot long, go hit the gym, buy a protein shake at the gym, pound that.
Yeah.
And then I'd go hit hockey practice, come home, pound some whatever my mom made for dinner.
Right.
And then I'd eat a bowl of cereal before bed.
Then go to bed and do it all
I
again.
added it up at one point in time, and it was like 8,000 calories on average that I was consuming as a 15-year-old kid.
Wow, that's quite a bit.
It's a fair piece of food.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I did that if we're talking about, like sophomore year. Yeah, sophomore year, I did that. And it was consistent too. Like I ate tons. Every day. Didn't miss anything. I was very OCD about it. I was very anti-fast food. So it was all, the dirtiest thing I ate was definitely the cereal at night. Yeah.
Sure.
But lots of good food. I drink tons of milk, which for better or for worse, right?
Right.
Didn't bug me at all. And from August, I remember I weighed in for football, even though I didn't end up playing, at like 200 pounds. This is a 15-year-old.
Jeez.
Yeah. And I'd been bulking that summer. It was good stuff. Yeah.
Good summer.
And yeah, at the end of that school year, I remember weighing in, I was 169.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And that is on 8,000 calories all school year long. Yeah.
Wow. So good thing you did some serious bulking.
To put that into perspective, my metabolism was just on fire. And, to put that into perspective, that's how much exercise I was doing.
Also, yes, very true.
Hockey tournaments, lifting weights 5 days a week for hours at a time.
You're just an active person too.
Oh,
so
yeah. I mean, it was like crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Summers for me was actually when I gained lots of weight because my activity level came way down. So that's another key. That was just my own personal example. But, for those of you out there looking to gain weight, look at your activity level. I hate to say this, but if you can't gain weight and you need to gain weight, you need to track your steps and slow those down a bit.
Okay.
Or, if you're doing labor outside for a job, maybe think about doing something else. Or
that's true. That'll take it away.
Eat to compensate for that. Just add calories every week until you start gaining weight. Yeah. That's and stay consistent with it.
Also simple.
Yep, you gotta track. But that's the thing. People say, "Oh, I can't do that." Yes, you can. Yeah. You have to. It's just like losing weight. You have to prepare. You have to make sure you have all of your meals ready to rock and roll. You pack lunches, take them with you. You can't just go and wing it because you might be stuck without food for hours and hours, and then you're hosed.
Or have very little option except for that fast food or something like that.
Yep. So go to the grocery store, plan things out. Things like nuts, honey, trail mixes, things that are dense in calories. Are really, really good. Make sure your protein is prepared. Eat red meat. Eat the higher fat content meat. Tons of calories, right?
Right.
Chicken thighs. Too. Yep. I mean, put honey on stuff. Put sauces on stuff. Depending on dietary restrictions.
Sure.
Eat all the fruits. Fruit smoothies. Make protein shakes in the blender with fruit and oatmeal and all that stuff. Avocado. I love avocado in shakes. It makes them so super smooth.
Oh, sure.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah.
Everybody give that a try.
Yeah. And I know you can't have nuts, Hunter, but nuts, dude, I could live off of cashews alone. Salted cashews.
I used to.
Oh, dude.
There was a point in my life where cashews and pistachios.
Yeah,
were
if it's bulking season in the Cafferty household,
Yep.
it is straight nuts and steak.
Ooh,
Oh yeah.
sounds phenomenal.
Oh my gosh.
that sounds
I'm
good.
addicted.
Right
All right.
on. All right, nutrition wise, we covered a couple questions there. Move a little to the exercise part of it. A couple questions, I'll just put them together here. What is the best time of day to exercise? And also, where is it at? Yeah, how long should I work out? How long should my exercise be?
Oh, perfect. So these are actually good questions. What time of day?
Yeah.
And that's been a topic for discussion for a long time, actually. And there's actually been some more recent research put out there. I think I reposted something on Instagram like a month or so ago.
I remember that, yeah.
About a study that had come out. And the premise of it is your body will adapt to the time of day where you work out frequently. Like if you have to work out in the morning, long term, you're not like shooting yourself in the foot because you can't work out in the afternoon, right?
Right on.
It's okay. You can do it. It's not going to be that big of a deal. But if you're talking about optimization of energy levels, for me, I mean, it's just being warm, right? Getting your joints warmed up. When you wake up in the morning, you're kind of stiff. It takes you a little bit longer to get blood flow. So actually what they found in this research is that it was better neurological engagement to work out later in the day. We've all felt it. You're warmer.
Yep.
Things just start working a little bit better. You can typically feel your muscles contract a little bit better. Highly neurological component. It also makes more sense. You're more hydrated at that time because you haven't been, fasting and not drinking all night, right?
Right.
So I would say the best time of day in theory would be after you've woken up and got a little bit of food in you.
Okay.
For most people, and then waiting until you're kind of warm and your day's going. The thing is, not everybody can work out at that time of day, right?
Life happens.
So oftentimes the argument is, okay, I have in the morning when I'm cold and it's the morning,
right?
Or I have after work when I'm smoked from the day. And just tired and mentally exhausted, and I don't want to take pre-workout because then I have to go home and go to bed and all that stuff.
The internal
so
battle.
A lot of people kind of fight that. But I would say in general, it is more optimal later in the day for a neurological component.
Right on. Is there something that's study about, like, is there a certain time of day when it gets to like 11, 12, midnight, 11 midnight, 1 o'clock? Those people, for some reason, who are working out at that time, does it revert? So like you have your sweet spot, and then morning/late night would kind of give you the same kind of.
I would say probably not. You're probably like the neurological component is there. Your body is warm. You've been up and running. I would say at that point in time, mentally you might be more exhausted upstairs because your head's just not in the game.
Right.
So everybody's going to kind of have an optimal time. I know that for me, it's like probably like 3 to 4 hours after I wake up in the morning.
Okay.
Typically, because
no matter what time that is, yeah.
Yep, because I kind of hit my sweet spot. I'm awake and alert, and my body's warm, and I've been up and I've been moving, but I haven't had kind of the, what storm of the day hit me yet.
Yeah, sure.
And my head is not quite in as many places, and usually by that time, it's like for me that's like 9 or 10 in the morning, right? Because I've been up early,
right?
And I can't work out at that time every day. So, but you just make it work,
That'd
right?
be optimal time, right?
But yeah, I'd say no matter what, you have to be hydrated. So if you do have to work out in the morning, get up, get in electrolytes. Morton Light Salt in your pre-workout, get some pre-workout, caffeine's a savior. And then get really good and warm. A lot of people are paranoid to do cardio before they lift because it's going to, affect their lift, which is true. But, you can do a little bit more than you might think. Like get sweaty,
okay.
Don't kill yourself and drain all your energy, but you can handle 10, 15 hard minutes to warm up cardio.
Yeah.
and then lift.
I like
So
that changed my leg day game. That's for sure. Being able to do that.
Yeah, get hot, get sweaty first before you start lifting.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would have the thought, be like, oh, if I do this, I'm going to burn out my legs already or something like that.
Yeah.
But no, you do that, and then you get maybe a little bit, some active stretching / warm-up bands and stuff like that. And then, hitting some crazy good stuff.
Oh, yeah. Way, way better.
Right.
So, yeah, I would say my professional opinion on that argument is a little bit later in the day when your body's warm is going to be better and you have more fuel on board, more hydration on board. But if you have to do in the morning, which is more optimal for some people just due to schedule and things like that, then hit those electrolytes, Hydrocharge, shout out Chris and Caged, Morton light salt, lots of water. If you have a hard time eating beforehand, you can do some, more liquid type. When I work out really early, I'm like a, banana and potentially a protein shake type of guy. Yeah. But everybody's a little bit different, Right. So yeah, later in the day. And then the other piece to that question was
just real quickly how long should I work out? How long should I exercise?
How long should you work out? So this is a really popular question, actually. Shockingly enough, it's on here,
Googled,
right? And this is a frustrating question for me because people are like, like that whole old thing of like, if you're in the gym for more than an hour lifting, then you're just overtraining. It's like, well, sorry to burst your bubble, but that's not the case, dude. I mean, honestly, like as long as you have energy to keep going,
just keep going.
Really, yeah. I mean, the thing is, you don't want to overwhelm yourself with volume.
Sure.
So there is a such thing as too much volume, but it's not so much about the time spent in the gym. It's the work done in the gym. That's where people get it confused. So it's not, so for any of you out there listening, it's not the actual time you're spending in the gym. The actual time you're spending in the gym is more dictated by your other things in life and your schedule, right?
Right.
Now, I would say there is limits to that. Like if you stretch one workout and take all day to do it, I mean, come on. Where then don't be one of those people that starts stretching these words into extremes, right?
Right, sure.
But I would say in general, and the research shows this, you take a little bit longer rest breaks, it's actually going to be better because then you can put more energy into each set. So specifically related to compounds, don't be afraid to rest. They've consistently shown actually that shorter rest times can be detrimental because you're not recovering to put more load on the muscle tissue between each set, right? So get good rest in between sets. That's actually been shown to have great benefits in terms of muscle hypertrophy and strength, right? But yeah, don't necessarily limit yourself as overall time. I would say a general rule of thumb, like if it's taking you over an hour and a half to 2 hours between warm up and everything, then you should probably make considerations. Now, there are outliers to this, right? Like if, say if I'm having you do, warm up exercises and cardio with your lift, then it might stretch pretty long.
Yep.
But if we're talking like the meat of your lift, so not counting warm up, not counting cardio, I mean, yeah, you could take up to an hour and a half on that easy. And it's not detrimental. You can take 2 hours, not detrimental. Power lifters work out for notoriously long periods of time because they're taking long rest breaks.
Right. Just chilling, taking a nap, going back into it.
Yep. Take a 10-minute snooze and do another single. Right.
Fascinating.
So yeah, I don't think that there's necessarily a limit. Now I'd say most people, you should be done with this in an hour and a half. That's typically a good amount of time, 90 minutes.
Good intensity with that one.
Good intensity. I'd say that's a good blend. From a research standpoint, you're not going to be able to necessarily prove like a time.
Sure.
I would say a workload. Gradually increase your workload over time. But most people are kind of limited on the time they can spend in the gym, and I wouldn't recommend somebody spend much over an hour and a half lifting.
Right.
Just because I don't think it's necessary for growth.
Right. So you actually mentioned load there. This next question in this list here is, how long should I wait before lifting heavier weights?
I think that that's kind of a mixed bag. I think you should start trying to lift heavier from the get-go, in a sense, right? I mean, assuming that you're doing proper technique, proper form, you're probably capable of doing a lot more weight than you think, because weights are going to just feel heavy. That's how they feel. You don't really know what you're capable of until you have somebody like me watching you and saying, oh, we need to go a little bit heavier. Watching rep tempo and rep speed can be really, really valuable in determining load.
Right.
But for the newbies out there, like, you should, the general rule of thumb is, say you're starting out, you're doing sets of 10. As soon as you can get to 10 reps with a particular weight, increase the weight a little bit.
Okay.
And then say you're only getting 8 reps with that heavier weight. Okay, cool. Use that weight until you're able to get to 10 with it, and then bump it up again. And then you're back to...
Are we talking like on the third set, or just in total every time you do this set?
Just when you're doing it. Yep. Yeah. So, if you're doing, say, a bench press and you're hitting 200 pounds for 10 reps, and it's hard for 10, but, you don't know if you could do more or not, put more weight on. Just be careful. Maybe have a spotter or something.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Say you go from 200 to 225. Well, maybe you're only getting 8. Cool. Well, now you work on 225 until you get it up, until you plateau, right? And then if you're just stuck, then obviously there's things you can do to, whether you want to get super sciencey and complicated with it, or if you just want to, do a more basic way to break through that plateau. There's, a lot of different things that are effective. But in general, you should be trying to lift heavier, about every workout. You should be trying to push yourself. Just see how it feels. The one stipulation is you cannot lose technique and form and neuromuscular recruitment, muscle engagement as you're going up in weight.
Very important emphasis there.
Yeah, and so a lot of times, like, athletes will be going up in weight and up in weight and up in weight, and they're pushing themselves, and then we'll kind of look at things one day and be like, well, technique, it's kind of taken a little bit of a hit, or they're not feeling the target muscle group engage the same way. Okay, let's back it off, go back to the basics and the cues of this movement, and try and optimize our engagement of the target muscle, right? And kind of take some steps back. So it can go in waves.
Right on.
It can go in waves.
I love that. Okay, next one, kind of when it comes to the gym, then we might hit a couple sillier ones as time allows. This one I thought was a good one because it kind of goes back to the whole principle mindset of, I want to lose weight fast. Also, people get tired of the same thing very easily.
Right.
So do I need to vary my workouts to see results?
No.
This question. No,
you do not. Now, is some variation good? Absolutely. But I say in general, people switch things up way too much. If you're changing the exercises you're doing every week, how are you ever going to monitor improvement, right? You need to be sticking with a core group of exercises and improve upon those exercises that you're doing. Now, that doesn't mean, this is purely in relationship to the movements you're choosing. Now, rep ranges and rest times and things like that, you can manipulate those as well. But keep in mind, if you're doing sets of, 3 on bench press this week, and then next week you're doing sets of 20, there's not really going to be any correlation to that if that's the only time you're doing bench press each week, right? So some consistency needs to be had, but think about, you're trying to neurologically adapt to getting better at lifting weights as you're trying to get stronger and or gain muscle, right? So even if you're trying to lose weight, same thing. You want to be able to monitor your strength levels and monitor change over time. The only way to do that is to have some consistency. So now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try to vary things. You should try to vary things, but don't change too many variables at once, right?
Okay. Yeah.
You want to have consistency. It's like, you don't want to introduce too many different things all at once, because then you're not going to know which one is causing the change, right?
Right.
If I've been doing the same exercises and I change one out periodically, I know right away what is the source of the change in the way I feel, right? It's the thing that I changed, right?
Right.
But that being said, you could just squat, bench, and deadlift and
see results.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'd say too much change is bad. Some change is good. This is very general, by the way.
Of course.
But,
yes, comes from person to person.
Too much change. People always talk about muscle confusion. The only thing that gets confused is you, not your muscles. Your muscles are not confused. Your muscles are just not going to grow. Think about when you're starting to lift, right? You take a newbie and you're starting to have them lift weights. The progress that they get in the first 3 to 4 weeks is purely neurological. Has nothing to do with a change in the myofilaments.
So is that the beginner's luck kind of thing?
Yes, it is. Like well, it's not necessarily newbie gains. Newbie gains would refer to like the amount of muscle somebody gains in the first, 3 to 6 months of lifting.
Okay.
But it's that first month where people like get a lot stronger and, start feeling a lot better in the gym. That's because you're actually activating your muscles and using them. And your body is learning how to engage those muscles in doing those movements.
Right.
So you'll get that initial little bump. So think about that when it comes to, your long-term improvement. If you're always doing different stuff, your body's just trying to learn how to do those movements constantly, and it's not actually making morphological changes. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think it's definitely some. I mean, I've kind of thought about it in a way, because I mean, like training for a powerlifting meet, you do like it gets pretty dang repetitive,
Pretty monotonous.
But that's where the gains come from.
Yeah.
But I think people like, they see this video or they do something like this, and we'll have to talk about this on a later episode. But they see something, there's like, that looks like it could work. Hurt yourself, do something crazy, and it all just comes down to the principles you just said. All right, one last question here. I think this is kind of silly, but it could make sense because I feel like people may use it as an excuse / lazy. But this person says, I'm naturally slim and happy with my weight. Why should I exercise? I feel fine. Or just the people in general, just like, why should I even do that? I feel fine. Like I could walk around my house. Like, why do I even need to do it?
I think the saying ignorance is bliss.
There it is.
Is very strong here. And that's true. I have actually one of my best friends is guilty of saying that. Now, granted, he knows he should exercise, but there is a lot of people that that I even know. Like I said, I'm friends with that. Like exercise is not a super regular thing to them, and they're like, "Well, I'm pretty happy with my weight, and I'm healthy." Well, those people are not looking 10 years down the road. You know what I mean? And they don't know how good they could possibly feel either, right? So it comes down to, if I were to say, have a friend, say I had a buddy that like was in those shoes, right? Felt fine, looked fine, didn't really feel the need to exercise. What if I asked him to go mountain biking or hiking with me? What do you think he'd say? Probably going to pass up on that opportunity.
Yeah, I'm going to need a rain check.
Yeah, I'm going to need a rain check. What if he, all of a sudden he wants to go and, hike a mountain, like do some summits. What if he, you want to go do some activity. So I think like at the time, like when you're young, you kind of take that kind of thing for granted. But if you look how fast your body deteriorates if you don't supply that exercise stimulus, your health markers will go down over time, and you will lose out on that feeling that you have right now, like not doing stuff. And that being said, even there are stuff that even if somebody is healthy and doesn't have body weight issues or anything like that, but they don't exercise, they're just not going to be as productive, right? Flat out.
Right.
You know, you don't get that mental side, right? Of resistance training or exercise, which is a huge deal. You'd probably now, and I know there's studies on this somewhere, but I guarantee you'd see an increased rate of depression. You'd see all of these different psychological things that play into people that don't exercise. So for nothing else, you know, do it for your longevity, do it for your mental health, and you will be better off. I think it's stupid for people to say that, quite frankly, because that's like saying, well, I'm good enough. Like, why should you be satisfied with that?
Right. That kind of goes, I was going to bring that point up. It kind of goes back to what we talk about basically every single episode. It's just like, if you're not progressing, you are going down. You might not feel it, but you're not improving. And why wouldn't you want to do that?
It may be slow enough to where you can't really put your finger on it, but eventually you're going to try and do something, and you're going to be like, oh, I used to be able to do that, you know?
No, you can't.
And you're not going to be able to do it now. And then you're digging yourself out of a hole.
Right.
But yeah, I think that, you know, we know so much about how beneficial exercise in general is. I think that somebody is, you know, pretty either lazy or stupid to not exercise in some capacity.
Right. You can do something.
Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to lift weights. Now, is it the best thing you can do? Yes.
Yes.
But, you know, do something. If you just have just a diversion to exercise and you're like, no, like, well, number one, you should be doing it. So maybe hire a trainer. Or just do something that you like that's physically engaging and, you know,
there's
and
so
active.
much stuff out there.
So many things you can do. I mean, you can bike, even hiking. I mean, do something that physically
If you go to a neighborhood
pushes.
park, you can just look out and just see like probably 5 or 6 things going on at one time that you could participate in.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that's easy.
mean, yeah, even if
And
like
free.
you know, even if you hate exercise, like find something like, do you like, you know, karate, right?
Oh, right, the jujitsu.
I mean, Kaylee's husband, we always joke because he chokes people for exercise.
He gets his exercise.
Yeah, he gets his exercise, but you know, that is resistance, right? Doing jujitsu. That is
someone doesn't want to be choked and you need to choke them.
Yes,
I mean, that's
then
resistance.
Exactly. So there's that. That's one example. We talk about biking, we talk about hiking, things like that. Think of things that are more, you know, off the wall. VR boxing. I mean,
that is thinking out of the box, but so true.
Dude, I mean, yeah, I mean, or
give that a try.
Yeah, there's so many activities that you could choose that are just physically active in general. And I feel like that's totally not the audience that listens to this podcast. No. They're more like, okay, well, I mean, I don't want to know how like that. I want to know things like how I can get better in the gym because I already work out. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, hopefully you got some of that in the previous parts of these episodes, but also everyone out there, I feel like knows somebody who might need to hear this.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, if you want to know some facts about the most popular fitness myths, I guess this is a good one for you. But
this is a good one. No, it was good. I really enjoyed this little thing that we did. I think it would be fun to go back and kind of do this about some different other stuff. But yeah, a lot of just good knowledge being spread.
Yep.
So appreciate your time, Eric. And
dispel the myths.
Dispel the myths.
# dispel the myths.
Love it. Love it.
All right, friends. Well, that's been a fun episode. We'll continue talking about random fitness myths in the future, I'm sure. I'm looking forward to having some awesome guests on our podcast in the coming weeks. We're going to get that loaded up for everybody. Until then, stop by, get your Mecca blender bottle. These things are awesome.
Fully insulated.
We got some fully insulated blender bottles with the locking cap. I'm so excited. These things look sweet.
Many other stuff is right there out in the store. It's fantastic.
Yeah, lots of goodies that we've been getting in lately. Everybody take it easy. We'll catch you next Tuesday. Thank you for joining us on the Power of Lifting podcast. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. For more content like this, follow Eric Cafferty and the Mecca Gym on all social media platforms.